Welcome back. Today we're diving deep into the world of British numismatics to uncover the top 10 most valuable United Kingdom one-penny coins. At first glance, the humble penny might not seem like much, but over the years, certain rare dates, minting errors, and historical designs have made these coins worth thousands of dollars in today's auction market. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, this video will guide you through the fascinating history, unique features, and current market value of these rare pennies. So let's get started. First up, we are diving into the fascinating story of the United Kingdom one-penny coin from 1966. While it may appear as just an ordinary coin to many, collectors know that even a circulated piece in a black, rusty condition can hold hidden historical and market value. We'll explore its background, unique features, rarity, current auction value in dollars, and some helpful tips for collectors who want to spot or preserve such treasures. The 1966 one-penny coin belongs to the pre-decimal currency system of the United Kingdom. Before decimalization in 1971, the British monetary system was based on pounds, shillings, and pence. The penny was an important coin in daily transactions, and millions were struck for circulation in the mid-1960s. The coin carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, who had been on the throne for just over a decade by then. The design reflects the era when the British Empire was transitioning into the modern Commonwealth, marking a period of political and cultural transformation. While it was a common coin for everyday use, surviving pieces from this year still attract attention due to their condition, minting details, and demand among collectors. The obverse side of the 1966 penny features the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Mary Gillick. This portrait shows the Queen wearing a laurel wreath, a design much admired for its elegance. The reverse side carries the iconic image of Britannia seated, holding a trident in one hand and a shield in the other, with a lighthouse in the background. This classic design had been in use since the late 19th century and is one of the most recognizable symbols of British coinage. A circulated and blackened coin from 1966 may show signs of oxidation, wear, and rust-like discoloration. While such marks lower the coin's visual appeal, they also tell a story of long circulation, making the piece unique in its own way. The 1966 one-penny is considered extremely rare in uncirculated condition because a large number were minted. However, its collector demand comes from two main factors. Even though circulated and rusty pieces exist in abundance, collectors are always on the lookout for distinct conditions, such as unusually toned or oxidized surfaces that make a coin stand out. Since this was among the last series of pre-decimal pennies before decimalization, it holds historical importance for UK numismatics. Collectors across the globe seek it as part of completing their sets of British pre-decimal coins. So, while it may not be classified as a rare coin in mint condition, its age, condition, and place in history give it collector interest. Now let's talk about value. In circulated condition, a 1966 penny generally trades for $115,000. A black, rusty condition coin would likely be on the lower end of that scale, closer to $125,000 or even less. However, auction markets can surprise us. Some collectors are willing to pay more, sometimes $135,000 for unusual patina, historic character, or a coin that completes their collection. Uncirculated or proof versions of the 1966 penny, on the other hand, can sell for significantly higher, often reaching $150,000 depending on quality and demand. So, while a rusty circulated piece may not make you rich, it still carries respectable value, especially when sold to the right buyer or in the right market. If you're looking to add a 1966 penny to your collection, here are a few tips. While circulated and rusty coins are common, try to find examples with clear details of Britannia and the Queen's portrait. If you have a rusty coin, avoid aggressive cleaning, as it can lower its collector value. Instead, store it in a dry holder or coin flip to prevent further corrosion. The proof issues of 1966 are far more desirable and fetch higher auction prices. Keep an eye on online marketplaces and coin auctions, as occasionally, collectors are willing to pay more for interesting conditions or lots of pre-decimal coins. The 1966 United Kingdom one-penny coin may not be the rarest or most valuable coin on the market, but its history, design, and role in Britain's pre-decimal system make it a worthwhile addition to any collection. Even in a circulated, black rusty condition, it tells a story of decades of use and survival. For collectors, every coin holds not just monetary worth, but also a piece of history, and that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. So whether you've just found a 1966 penny in an old drawer, or you're actively seeking one for your collection, remember that its value lies in both the market and the history it carries. Next up, we're diving into the fascinating world of British coins, focusing on a very special piece. The United Kingdom one penny from 1918, specifically in a circulated, black, rusty, and worn condition. At first glance, such a coin might not look impressive. Its age, history, and rarity make it a hidden treasure in the world of numismatics. You'll understand why this coin still holds significant value in auctions and collector markets, even if it appears heavily worn. The 1918 one penny belongs to the reign of King George V, who was on the throne from 1910 to 1936. This period was marked by major world events, including the final year of World War I, when this coin was struck. During this time, the British economy was under pressure, and the minting of coins like the 1 penny became vital for everyday transactions. The penny was part of the pre-decimal coinage system, where 240 pennies made up a pound. The 1918 penny is particularly interesting because it was struck not only at the Royal Mint in London, but also under contract at the King's Norton Metal Company and the Heaton Mint in Birmingham, marked with small KN or H mint marks beneath the date. These varieties add layers of uniqueness for collectors. The coin itself is made of bronze, with a weight of about 9.45 grams and a diameter of 30.8 millimeters. On the obverse side, you'll find the portrait of King George V, facing left, with the inscription Georges V de Jare, Brit. OMN, Rex FID, Def, IND, IMP. This Latin legend translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse, you'll see the iconic Britannia figure, seated with a trident and shield, symbolizing Britain's naval strength and empire. The date, 1918, is located at the bottom, sometimes accompanied by the mint marks H or KN. In circulated, black, rusty, and worn condition, much of the design may be faint, with surfaces darkened from oxidation over more than a century. Yet, even in this condition, the coin tells a story of its long journey through countless hands during one of the most turbulent periods in history. Now, you may be wondering, if the coin is common and in poor condition, why does it matter? The answer lies in rarity and history combined. While the 1918 penny was minted in large numbers, coins surviving today in collectible condition, especially with visible mint marks, are becoming scarcer every year. Collectors are often willing to purchase even worn examples, particularly if they are from the Heaton Mint or King's Norton Mint varieties. These mint marks make the coin more desirable compared to a standard Royal Mint strike. Additionally, the fact that this coin represents the final year of World War I gives it historical weight, making it attractive even in rusty or heavily circulated states. So, what's the actual market value of a 1918 1 penny in circulated black rusty worn condition? On average, heavily circulated examples without visible mint marks may sell for $126,000. However, if the mint mark H or KN is still distinguishable, even in poor condition, the value can increase to around $145,000. In finer grades, like very fine or extremely fine, the coin can reach $150,000, and in near mint or uncirculated conditions, rare examples have been known to fetch hundreds of dollars at auctions. But even a worn and rusty example has its place in the collector's market because of its age, history, and potential mint variety. If you're interested in collecting the 1918 1 penny, here are a few tips. Look carefully beneath the date for H or KN. These are more valuable than the plain 1918 penny. Even though worn coins have value, better preserved examples are worth much more. If your coin is rusty or blackened, resist the temptation to clean it aggressively. Cleaning can destroy its surface and reduce collector interest. Keep your coin in a dry, protective holder to prevent further corrosion. Even a worn coin might surprise you at auction, especially if it has a clear mint mark or historical appeal. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1918 may appear humble, especially in circulated black rusty worn condition, but it carries with it more than a century of history. From its link to King George V and the end of World War I, to the variety of mint marks that make certain examples more collectible, this coin is a small yet powerful reminder of Britain's past. Collectors today still seek out these coins, and while condition plays a big role, even worn examples have value in the market. If you happen to own one, hold on to it. Because every coin like this tells a story, and that story is worth more than just metal. Next up, we're diving into the fascinating story of a coin that has caught the attention of collectors worldwide. The United Kingdom 1 penny from 1928. Even in black, rusty condition, this coin holds significant value because of its rarity and historical background. If you've ever come across one of these coins in your collection, or even at a flea market, you might be holding a hidden treasure worth much more than its face value. The 1928 penny was struck during the reign of King George V, who was the monarch of the United Kingdom from 1910 until 1936. Coins from his reign are admired not only for their classic design, but also for the period of history they represent, covering post-World War I recovery and the interwar years. The Royal Mint produced these coins in bronze, continuing the tradition of the penny that had been in circulation since the Victorian era. While the penny was a common coin for daily transactions, certain years like 1928 have become more desirable to collectors due to lower surviving numbers and unique historical significance. On the obverse, the 1928 penny features the portrait of King George V facing left, designed by Bertram McKennell. Around his profile, the Latin inscription reads Georgives Vide Jare, Brit. OMN, Rex Fid. Def. IND. IMP, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. The reverse side displays Britannia seated, holding a trident and shield, a design that had been used on British pennies for decades. This classic imagery represents the power and stability of Britain during the period. Even if the coin has black rust or surface corrosion, these key features often remain visible, making it identifiable to collectors. While millions of pennies were minted in the 1920s, not all of them have survived in good condition. Many were worn down through daily use, and others have been lost or corroded over time. The 1928 penny is particularly collectible because it belongs to a series that was gradually transitioning before major changes in the 1930s coinage. Collectors seek out these coins in all conditions, with higher premiums paid for coins that still retain their details despite rust or wear. The black rusty condition may lower its grade compared to mint-state examples, but because of its age and history, even lower-grade coins can attract strong interest in auctions. The value of a 1928 1 penny varies greatly, depending on its condition. In average circulated condition, these coins might sell for around $135,000. However, when preserved in fine or extremely fine condition, the value can rise significantly, sometimes reaching $150,000 or more. For uncirculated or proof-like examples, collectors have been known to pay upwards of $165,000 at auctions. Now, in black rusty condition, the coin may fall into the lower value range. But because collectors appreciate the rarity of coins from the George V era, even these weathered examples can still sell between $110,000 depending on demand. If you own a 1928 penny, take care in handling it. Avoid harsh cleaning, as this can further damage the surface and reduce its value. Store the coin in a protective holder or coin flip to prevent more corrosion. When buying, always check for clear details like the king's portrait and the seated Britannia, as these are key to verifying authenticity. For new collectors, start by purchasing lower-grade examples, and if possible, gradually upgrade to higher-quality coins when the opportunity arises. Always keep an eye on coin auctions and collector markets, as prices for rare pennies can fluctuate depending on demand. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1928 may look like an old, worn, and rusty coin, but its story and value are far greater than what meets the eye. It represents a piece of British history, the reign of King George V, and the enduring appeal of traditional coin designs. Whether you're holding it in pristine condition or in black rusty form, it's a coin that deserves recognition in any collection. You might just have a small fortune in your hands. Next up, we're diving into the fascinating story of the United Kingdom 1 penny coin from the year 1913. Now, you may have seen a 1 penny before, but finding one from 1913 in black, rusty, and heavily worn condition is an entirely different matter. Despite its appearance, such a coin can hold great historical and collector's value. We'll explore its history, unique features, rarity, auction market performance, and of course, what kind of value this coin could bring in US dollars today. So, stay tuned because this might just be one of the coins that hides big money behind a rough exterior. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1913 was minted during the reign of King George V, who ruled from 1910 to 1936. These coins were part of the pre-decimal system, where 240 pennies equaled £1 sterling. The 1913 penny was struck in large numbers, but over time, the First World War, economic shifts, and circulation wear caused many coins to disappear from everyday use. The penny carried immense cultural value in Britain. It was used daily in shops, pubs, and markets, making it a staple coin of its time. However, coins from 1913 are now over a century old, and surviving examples, especially those found in unusual conditions, have become historical relics. The obverse of the 1913 penny features the left-facing portrait of King George V, engraved by Bertram Mackennal. His strong profile is surrounded by the Latin inscription, Georgievs Vide Jare, Brit, OMN, Rex FID, Def, IND, IMP, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse, we see the iconic figure of Britannia seated on a rock, holding a trident in her left hand and a shield in her right. This design had been a symbol of British strength and unity for centuries. The date, 1913, is clearly struck at the bottom. What makes some surviving coins particularly intriguing is their condition. A black, rusty, and heavily worn penny tells a story of circulation, neglect, or perhaps even burial in soil. While it may lack the sharp detail of a mint-state coin, its rugged appearance reflects its long journey through history, which some collectors actually find appealing. Now, let's talk about rarity. The 1913 penny itself is not the rarest of George V issues, but finding one in collectible condition is becoming increasingly difficult as time passes. Most of these coins were used heavily in everyday trade, meaning that high-grade examples are scarce. When it comes to a coin in black, rusty, or worn condition, demand comes from a different type of collector. Some collectors look for story coins, pieces that clearly show their age and wear, rather than pristine, untouched examples. Because of this, even damaged coins can hold interest in the market, especially when tied to historically important years like 1913, just 1 year before the First World War broke out. So, how much is a 1913 one penny worth today? The answer depends heavily on condition. A well-preserved, uncirculated example can fetch between $175,000 or more at auction, depending on the strike and luster. Coins in fine to very fine condition usually bring $145,000. For black, rusty, and heavily worn examples, the value is lower, often around $135,000. But here's the catch. If the coin has an unusual patina, strong historical appeal, or a collector looking specifically for worn pieces, it could still surprise at auction with higher bids. What's important to understand is that even a poor condition coin can have value, especially as part of a set, or for collectors focusing on coins with battle-worn or aged appearances. If you own a 1913 penny in rusty, blackened, or worn condition, avoid trying to clean it. Cleaning can strip away historical character and even reduce its value. Instead, keep it in a safe holder to prevent further corrosion. When buying such coins, collectors should always verify authenticity, since many replicas exist of British pennies. Look for the weight and size. An authentic 1913 penny weighs around 9.4 grams and measures 30.8 millimeters in diameter. Finally, keep an eye on auctions. Sometimes even the most ordinary-looking coin surprises everyone when bidding wars break out, especially if multiple collectors are after the same year or type. The 1913 United Kingdom one penny may not look like much when it's rusty, black, and heavily worn, but its value lies in its story. It connects us directly to the reign of George V, to a world on the brink of the First World War, and to the everyday lives of millions of Britons over a century ago. While pristine examples command high prices, even rugged coins like the one we discussed today hold unique appeal for certain collectors. Next up, we're diving into the fascinating world of British coinage, exploring one of the classic coins that has captured the attention of collectors worldwide. The United Kingdom one penny from 1938. Even in circulated and rusty condition, this coin holds a story worth telling. We'll cover its background, unique features, rarity, current market value in dollars, and why collectors still chase after it today. So, let's begin this journey into the past and see why the 1938 penny remains an exciting piece of numismatic history. The year 1938 marked a transitional period in British history. King George VI had recently taken the throne following the abdication crisis of his brother, Edward VIII, in 1936. The Royal Mint was producing new coins that reflected this shift in monarchy. The one-penny coin was a staple in everyday life, used for small purchases and circulating widely throughout the United Kingdom. While it was a common denomination, coins from the pre-decimal era, especially from the reign of George VI, are now sought after by collectors due to their historical significance. The 1938 penny, therefore, isn't just a coin. It's a reminder of a time when Britain was preparing for the changes that would soon come with World War II. The 1938 penny features the portrait of King George VI on the obverse, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget. His portrait is left-facing and surrounded by the Latin inscription Georgius 6d. G. Br. OMN. Rex F. Laughing Face. IND. IMP, which translates to George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse, we see the iconic image of Britannia seated with a trident and shield, symbolizing Britain's naval strength and resilience. This design had been used on pennies for over a century, making it one of the most recognizable motifs in British coinage. In circulated and rusty condition, much of the detail may be worn or obscured, but the historic charm remains intact. While the 1938 penny is not the rarest British coin ever minted, its value lies in its historical period and condition. Millions were produced, but over time, many have been lost, damaged, or melted down. Collectors often seek coins from this era because they bridge the gap between the Edward VIII pattern coins and the wartime issues under George VI. A penny in circulated rusty condition is less desirable than a well-preserved example, but it still appeals to collectors who appreciate owning original coins that truly circulated during the late 1930s. Demand is especially high among those building complete sets of George VI pennies. When it comes to value, the condition of the coin plays a major role. A 1938 one-penny in rusty and heavily circulated condition typically sells for $110,000 in today's collector market. Coins in fine or very fine condition can bring in $150,000, while higher-grade examples in uncirculated or proof-like condition may reach $165,000 or more, depending on rarity and demand. Auction prices for near-perfect specimens have even crossed higher amounts when collectors are determined to complete their sets. However, a circulated rusty penny holds more of a historical than monetary value, but it still can attract interest from collectors who enjoy owning genuine pieces from the George VI era. If you're a collector considering adding a 1938 penny to your collection, keep in mind a few tips. First, always check the condition. Better preserved coins naturally command higher prices. Rusty coins can sometimes be gently cleaned, but experts recommend avoiding harsh cleaning, as it can reduce the coin's numismatic value. Instead, store the coin properly in a protective holder to prevent further corrosion. Also, research the market before buying or selling, as prices fluctuate based on demand. For beginners, even a circulated example is a good starting point, while advanced collectors may want to hunt for higher-grade specimens at auctions. The United Kingdom one penny from 1938 may make you rich in rusty, circulated condition, but it remains a treasured piece of history. It represents a pivotal era under King George VI, carries the timeless Britannia design, and continues to attract collectors who appreciate both its cultural and numismatic significance. Whether worth just a few dollars or much more in pristine condition, this coin's value lies not only in money, but also in the rich story it tells. So next time you come across a 1938 penny, remember you're holding a small but meaningful piece of British history. Next up, we're diving into a fascinating piece of British numismatic history, the United Kingdom one penny coin from 1917. At first glance, this coin may not look like much, especially if it's in a black, rusty, and worn condition. But don't be fooled. Behind its weathered appearance lies a rich story of history, rarity, and collector demand. And if you're lucky enough to own one, you might be surprised at the kind of value it can fetch in the auction market today, even in less than perfect condition. The 1917 one penny belongs to the era of King George V, who reigned from 1910 until 1936. This was a period marked by World War I, a time when Britain faced economic strain, heavy military spending, and significant changes in coin production. The penny was struck in bronze, which was the standard composition for pennies from 1860 up until the decimalization period. Millions of pennies were produced in 1917, but because of circulation, environmental exposure, and the passing of more than a century, most surviving examples are now heavily worn, corroded, or damaged. The coin also carries with it the weight of history. When it was minted, soldiers were still fighting in the trenches of Europe. In many ways, a 1917 penny is more than just a piece of currency. It's a direct connection to a time of great struggle and change for the United Kingdom. The obverse of the 1917 penny features the left-facing bust of King George V, designed by Sir Bertram Mackennal. Around the portrait runs the Latin inscription, Georgius Vide Jare, Brit. OMN, Rex Fid, Def, IND, IMP, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. The reverse depicts Britannia seated facing right, holding a trident and shield, a design that had been a symbol of British strength and naval dominance for centuries. Below her is the date, 1917. In a coin with heavy wear, black rust, or corrosion, many of these details may be faint or nearly gone. Yet, the faint outline of Britannia and the king's profile still hold great historical significance and appeal to collectors who value age and authenticity over perfect condition. While the 1917 penny is not the rarest coin in British coinage, finding one today in any collectible condition is becoming increasingly challenging. This is because bronze coins were especially vulnerable to oxidation and rust, which is why many surviving examples are found in poor condition. For collectors, rarity doesn't always mean mint condition. In fact, some numismatists appreciate well-worn coins for the story they tell. A black, rusty, and heavily circulated 1917 penny may still attract interest simply because it has survived more than 100 years. And with each passing decade, these coins in any condition become harder to find, increasing their desirability among enthusiasts of early 20th century British coinage. So what about the value? This is the part most collectors are curious about. A 1917 one penny in black, rusty, worn condition typically won't reach sky-high figures like pristine examples. In poor condition, such a coin may fetch around $121,000 in smaller auctions or online marketplaces. However, if the coin has any unique die errors, minting irregularities, or retains more visible details despite its wear, its price can climb much higher. Well-preserved 1917 pennies in fine to extremely fine condition often sell between $150,000, and uncirculated examples can command $165,000 or more at auction. Collectors are increasingly aware that even worn examples are worth keeping because the supply is shrinking. That's why a coin in black rusty condition is still valued not for its beauty, but for its age and history. If you own a 1917 penny, here are a few tips. Scrubbing or polishing a rusty coin often reduces its value. Collectors prefer originality, even if the coin looks worn. Keep it in a dry, cool environment, ideally in a protective holder to prevent further corrosion. Some coins may have striking flaws or variations that can dramatically increase value. Values can rise as collector interest grows, especially for coins linked to World War I history. The United Kingdom one penny of 1917 is more than just a coin, it's a time capsule from the First World War era. Even in a black, rusty, and worn condition, it holds significance as a rare survivor of Britain's coinage history. Next up, we explore the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins from across history. We're going to take a closer look at the United Kingdom one penny coin from 1930, a piece that holds a unique place in British numismatic history. While at first glance, a penny from this era may not seem extraordinary, its scarcity, historical context, and collector demand make it a coin worth discussing, especially when found in unusual conditions, like a dark or blackened surface. This coin can command significant interest in the auction market. The 1931 penny coin was issued during the reign of King George V, who ruled from 1910 until 1936. By this time, the British penny had become a widely circulated coin used daily in trade and commerce. The penny of this era was made of bronze, continuing the tradition that began in the mid-19th century. However, the early 1930s were a turbulent economic period worldwide, marked by the Great Depression. This had an impact on coinage production and circulation, making some issues from this decade relatively harder to find compared to other years. The 1930 penny is not the rarest of all UK pennies, but its survival in well-preserved or unusual conditions adds to its charm and appeal among collectors. The obverse of the 1930 penny features the portrait of King George V, designed by Bertram McKennell. This iconic image of the monarch, facing left, is surrounded by the Latin inscription, Georgives vide jare, Brit. OMN, Rex FID, Def, IND, IMP, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse side, we see the famous seated figure of Britannia, holding a trident in one hand and a shield in the other, a design that had been a staple of British coinage for decades. The date 1930 is struck at the bottom. What makes some examples unusual is their condition. Sometimes collectors come across coins with a blackened tone, either from natural oxidation of the bronze or environmental storage conditions, giving them a distinctive look compared to standard circulated pennies. While the 1930 penny was minted in decent numbers for circulation, high-grade examples and coins with unusual toning or blackened surfaces are far less common. Collectors place a strong emphasis on coins that survive in extremely fine or uncirculated condition, but oddly toned pieces, such as blackened coins, also draw attention because of their unique appearance. The demand for 1930 pennies is especially high among those completing sets of George V coinage, where every year of issue is needed. Since many pennies from this period were heavily circulated, finding one in fine or very fine condition is challenging, and this adds to its desirability in the marketplace. The auction value of a 1930 United Kingdom 1 penny varies widely depending on its condition. A heavily circulated coin may only fetch between $135,000 from collectors. However, a penny in very fine to extremely fine condition can reach values of $150,000, while uncirculated examples with original luster have been known to sell for $175,000 or more at numismatic auctions. Coins with unusual features, like a blackened or toned surface that still shows clear details, may also attract competitive bidding, since they stand out as unique pieces. Serious collectors looking for rare varieties or exceptional condition are often willing to pay a premium, making this modest penny far more valuable than its face value suggests. If you're considering adding a 1930 penny to your collection, here are a few useful tips. First, always check the condition carefully. Sharp details on the portrait and Britannia figures significantly increase value. Second, look for coins with natural toning, even if they appear dark or blackened, as these can be quite appealing to specialized collectors. Third, avoid polished or cleaned coins, as they lose much of their collectible value. It's also a smart idea to purchase from trusted dealers or certified auctions to ensure authenticity. Lastly, proper storage in coin flips or capsules will help preserve the coin's surface for years to come, ensuring it maintains its appeal and market worth. The United Kingdom 1 penny 1930 may seem like just another bronze coin from the George V era, but its historical background, surviving condition, and collector demand make it a piece worth studying. Whether found in standard brown circulation color or in a unique blackened condition, it remains a fascinating collectible that continues to attract interest in the numismatic world. For collectors, it represents not only a piece of British monetary history, but also a potential investment, as values at auction can reach impressive levels for high-quality examples. Next up, we are diving into the story of an old and fascinating coin, the United Kingdom 1 penny of 1907. Now, what makes this coin truly interesting is when it's found in a rare state. Even in a black, rusty, or damaged condition, it can still hold incredible value for collectors. Coins like this aren't just pieces of money. They're small pieces of history that tell us about the times they were minted, the monarchs who ruled, and the craftsmanship of early 20th century coin production. We'll break down the background, unique features, rarity, current market value in dollars, and collector tips about this coin. The 1907 UK 1 penny was struck during the reign of King Edward VII, who ruled from 1901 to 1910. The Edwardian era was a transitional time for Britain, marked by rapid industrial growth, social change, and the last years before World War I. The penny coin was part of everyday currency and played a major role in commerce. Millions were minted, but over the decades, most were either heavily circulated, melted down, or damaged. That's why finding a genuine 1907 penny today, even in rusty or corroded condition, can spark interest in the numismatic world. It's more than just a coin. It's a reminder of Britain's history and the legacy of Edward VII's short but impactful reign. The 1907 penny features the obverse with the portrait of King Edward VII, designed by George William de Saulles. His profile faces right, with the Latin inscription Edward 7 de Jare, Brit. OMN, Rex FID, Def, IND, IMP, which translates to Edward VII, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. The reverse displays the seated figure of Britannia, holding a trident and shield, a design that had been a long-standing symbol of British currency. The coin is made of bronze, weighs around 9.4 grams, and measures 30.8 millimeters in diameter. Even in a rusty, darkened condition, these design elements often remain visible, giving collectors a glimpse of its original glory. While the 1907 penny is not considered the rarest of all Edwardian coins, what sets it apart today is condition and survival rate. Over 20 million were minted, but the majority were lost through circulation and metal wear. Collectors value these coins for their historical significance, especially when they are preserved in higher grades. However, here's the fascinating part: coins found in unusual conditions, such as black, rusty, or damaged states, can still generate demand. This is because some collectors specialize in story coins, valuing pieces that show the scars of age and time. For penny collectors trying to complete a date run of Edward VII issues, even a damaged example may hold appeal if it fills a gap. Now let's talk about value. A heavily circulated or damaged 1907 penny in black rusty condition usually sells in the $127,000 range, depending on the degree of damage. In better preserved conditions like fine or very fine, values can climb to $145,000. Higher grade specimens graded as extremely fine or uncirculated can fetch $250,000 or more at auctions. What's surprising is that even damaged coins sometimes attract bids because collectors know they don't come up every day in any condition over a century later. Auction markets have shown that unusual condition pieces can still spark bidding wars, especially if the coin has an interesting patina or look. If you're looking to add a 1907 penny to your collection, here are some tips. First, always pay attention to authenticity. Counterfeits of Edwardian coins exist, though they are not as common as Victorian fakes. Second, condition matters. While rusty or damaged coins are cheaper, try to balance your collection with at least one higher grade example. Third, store rusty coins carefully. Untreated corrosion can spread and damage other coins in your collection. Lastly, keep an eye on auction houses and online marketplaces. Sometimes you'll find overlooked bargains, and other times you might see how much demand pushes prices beyond expectation. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1907 is a coin with more than a century of history behind it. Even in a black, rusty, or damaged condition, it represents the resilience of early 20th century British coinage and the story of Edward VII's reign. While not the rarest coin in existence, it holds strong appeal for collectors, whether for its design, history, or as part of a complete penny set. Its value may range from just a few dollars to several hundred depending on condition, but its true worth lies in the connection it gives us to a bygone era. So, the next time you see a worn or rusty old coin, remember it might just be a hidden piece of history waiting to be appreciated. Next up, we uncover the hidden treasures of rare coins that could be sitting unnoticed in your collection. We'll be diving deep into the story of the United Kingdom 1 penny coin from 1946, particularly when found in a black, rusty condition. At first glance, it may not look appealing. This coin holds a unique place in numismatic history, and in the auction market, it has shown surprising value in dollars. So, stay with us as we explore its background, rarity, and why collectors are still eager to own it. The 1 penny coin of 1946 was minted under the reign of King George VI, the father of Queen Elizabeth II. This coin belongs to the era just after World War II, when Britain was struggling with economic recovery and coin production was relatively high. Despite millions being struck, the historical context adds significance to this coin. The penny was part of the pre-decimal system, where 240 pennies equaled £1. By the early 1970s, these coins were demonetized when the UK adopted decimalization, but collectors still cherish them as symbols of a bygone monetary system and the resilience of Britain during the post-war period. The 1946 one penny is made of bronze, which, over time, often develops a dark patina or even a black rusty surface, especially if exposed to moisture. On the obverse side, you'll find the portrait of King George VI facing left, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget, with the Latin inscription Georgius 6d, G, Br, Omen, Rex F laughing face, IND, IMP, meaning George VI by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse, the design features Britannia seated, holding her trident and shield, a powerful symbol of Britain's maritime heritage. The date, 1946, is struck beneath. Even in black rusty condition, the details of Britannia or the king's portrait can sometimes be preserved, making such coins still appealing to collectors. Now, you might be wondering if millions of these coins were minted, why are they considered rare? The truth is, while the 1946 penny itself is the rarest in the series, what makes it interesting is the condition and historical context. Many of these coins were heavily circulated and later discarded when decimalization came in 1971. Today, finding one in a black rusty condition can spark interest among collectors who enjoy coins with character and originality, even if not in pristine mint state. The coin serves as a tangible reminder of post-war Britain. Collectors often pay attention to coins that carry visible age marks, patina, or unusual surface textures, as they represent authenticity and survival through time. So, what's the coin worth today? In ordinary circulated condition, a 1946 penny might fetch anywhere from $150,000, depending on where. However, coins with unique aging, such as those with black rust or heavy patina, sometimes sell for more at auctions, particularly to collectors who specialize in historic or character coins. If the coin is in fine to very fine condition, values can rise to $157,000. But in exceptional conditions, such as uncirculated or proof-like examples, prices have been known to cross $165,000 or more. Keep in mind that auction prices depend heavily on buyer demand and the coin's story, and unusual surface conditions can occasionally push bids higher than expected. If you're a coin collector, here are some tips for handling and preserving the 1946 one penny. Rust or patina gives the coin its unique character. Cleaning can actually lower its value. Keep the coin in a dry, cool place, preferably inside a protective holder, to prevent further corrosion. Sometimes small minting differences or errors can drastically increase a coin's value. Auction strategy. If selling, highlight the historical background and unique black rusty appearance in your listing, as collectors often seek out unusual examples. While not every 1946 penny will make you rich, it's a historically rich coin worth holding in any collection. The United Kingdom one penny of 1946 may not look glamorous in black rusty condition, but its value lies in its history, rarity, and enduring collector interest. While its market price ranges from a few dollars to potentially over $50 for higher-grade pieces, this coin's true worth is in the story it tells about Britain's post-war years and its place in the transition from the old monetary system. So, it might just be a hidden gem in your collection. Next up, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins from the United Kingdom, the 1937 one penny. Now, while this coin may appear to be just another ordinary penny to some, in the world of numismatics, its history, features, and rarity make it a treasure worth exploring. Even when found in rusty or aged condition, this coin can hold significant value, especially among collectors looking for historical pieces with character. So, let's uncover why this 1937 penny is still making waves in today's auction markets. The year 1937 was a monumental one in British history. It marked the coronation of King George VI, who took the throne after the abdication of his brother, King Edward VIII. This shift in monarchy was not only a dramatic historical moment, but also influenced the minting of British coinage. The 1937 one penny became part of the very first coinage series issued under the reign of George VI. Minted by the Royal Mint, these coins carried forward the tradition of the British penny, which had been an essential part of everyday trade for centuries. What makes this coin particularly interesting is that it reflects both the continuation of the penny's design tradition and the beginning of a new royal era. The 1937 one penny is crafted from bronze and weighs around 9.4 grams with a diameter of 30.8 millimeters. On the obverse side, the coin features a portrait of King George VI, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget, showing the king facing left without a crown, giving the coin a dignified yet simple royal appearance. On the reverse side, we see the iconic figure of Britannia, seated with a trident in her hand and a shield by her side, a design that had been used for many years on British pennies and symbolized the nation's naval strength and pride. Even when the coin is found in rusty or worn condition, these design details often remain visible, which adds charm to its collectible nature. Although the 1937 one penny was minted in large numbers for circulation, its value today depends heavily on condition, demand, and unique characteristics. Collectors especially prize coins from this era because they mark the start of George VI's reign. A rusty condition coin, while not considered mint or proof, can still attract attention because it tells a story of age, circulation, and survival through decades. Rarity also comes into play with certain minting variations, such as proof sets or coins with minor errors. Many collectors seek to complete full-date runs of British pennies, and the 1937 issue is a necessary piece in that collection. This constant demand keeps even lower-grade examples relevant in the market. When it comes to market value, the 1937 one penny can vary quite a bit. A coin in rusty or heavily circulated condition may typically fetch between $150,000 in the open market, as it still holds collector interest. However, if the coin is in very fine or uncirculated condition, the value can rise significantly, often reaching $175,000 depending on quality. Special proof strikes from 1937, which were never intended for general circulation, have been known to achieve even higher prices at auctions, sometimes going for hundreds of dollars. What's fascinating is that even coins in rusty condition are being bought, not just for investment purposes, but because they carry genuine historical character. For collectors interested in the 1937 one penny, there are a few important things to keep in mind. First, always check the condition carefully. Even a rusty coin should have identifiable details on both sides. Second, store the coin properly to prevent further corrosion. Placing it in a protective holder can help maintain its state. Third, if you happen to find a proof version or a penny with minting errors, hold on to it, as these varieties often carry much higher premiums. Lastly, always research current auction results before buying or selling, as market values fluctuate depending on collector demand and global interest in British coinage. The United Kingdom 1937 one penny is more than just a piece of bronze. It's a slice of history from the beginning of King George VI's reign. Whether in pristine or rusty condition, this coin continues to attract collectors due to its historical significance, classic design, and enduring place in British numismatic history. For some, it's just a small penny, but for collectors, it's a doorway to the past and a coin worth treasuring. If you ever come across one in your collection, or even in rusty condition, don't overlook it. It may just surprise you with its market value and historical appeal. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting coin collecting content. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting!